out of bed, I think, but it's all good. We're good.
Okay. Are you a morning person?
I'm not. I've always been a night owl, man. Always, always, always.
Oh, okay. So, what time do you usually start the day? Just curious.
So I wake up. Let's see. I try to wake up around like 10:30 or so, and I usually stay up until like 3:30 or 4. So it's long days for me sometimes, but I'm also a parent, so I have to
Mm-hmm.
like split the work day and everything. So
Oh, okay. Okay. So we're just like 2 hours early from your usual start. So okay.
oh, I got you.
Are you a coffee person? Yeah.
No, I do like mostly sparkling water for the most part with caffeine in it. I've never been really a coffee guy. I know that that's blasphemy among artists
Nah.
sometimes, but
Some
but yeah.
some are into tea.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Oh, there we go. We have some people hopping in into the chat. You ready to
Oh,
start?
yeah, for sure.
Okay. So, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from wherever you are watching this. Welcome back to our artist interview segment here at Brushpoint. I'm your host, Bungisnis, or you can call me Justin if you're nasty. Today, we have a freelance concept artist, illustrator from Radcliffe, US of A. He's done work for Powerhouse Animation Studios, Resonance Games, Backstage Games, and Darrington Press. So, everyone, please welcome Mr. Bear Frymire.
Thank you.
Imagine like
Hold your
a
applause. Hold
lot of claps,
it. Thank you. Thank
a
you.
lot of floating hands. So, Bear, welcome to the show. I'm stoked to have you here.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm stoked to be here for sure. I've been looking forward
Yeah.
to this.
Oh, I want to guess. Like, when was the first time you heard about this? Was it from Simon?
Yeah, actually, I heard about it
Yeah.
from Simon after he posted the link in our our little Discord for sure.
Hey,
So,
shout out to you, Simon. Man, all the way from Germany. I hope he's up
oh,
and about
dude,
right now. Yeah.
dude,
Oh,
Simon's the
and
best.
yeah.
Love
Oh man, is man. We're actually friends on Facebook right now. He's popping off.
him.
Yeah, I see his posts. Oh, speaking of popping off, I'd like to greet your son a belated happy birthday, man.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just turned 9 yesterday. So, uh, yeah, man, he was so stoked. I made him a little painting for his birthday. We're
I
gonna take him
saw.
to
Okay.
like a Nerf war place to celebrate. So that's gonna be fun.
Oh, okay. He's into
Like,
Nerf already. Like
yeah,
with full body armor and stuff.
yeah, it's got the little pads and everything,
Uh
and
huh. Yeah.
Nerf guns, automatic Nerf guns with the like plastic rubber ball things. They actually hurt,
Oh,
man. They don't feel too
yeah.
good.
I don't know if people still do that. But you can actually modify those Nerf guns to have like a stronger kick. Like my classmates used to do that. I don't know why. It really hurt. Like I felt the difference. Obviously.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine. That sounds awful.
Yeah. It was, man. They took it way too seriously for like 12-year-olds. Yeah. So watch out for your kid. He's gonna start tinkering.
I know he will. I know he will because
Uh-huh.
I did.
Uh-huh.
That's funny.
Oh, speaking of family, hey man, I found this really interesting fact. So your grandpa, Dick Frymire, a doctor
Yeah,
of barnyard science, was pretty famous, and he made it to the Tonight Show
he
alongside
did.
the legendary Foo Fighters. Like when I saw the picture, I was like, damn, it was beside Dave Grohl. Uh, with that
Yeah.
family background in the field of science, man, barnyard science to be exact, how
Mhm.
did you find your way into art, and how old were you?
Um. So the art journey for me was a very stilted, like segmented sort of deal. Because I used to really love drawing, and then like a lot of people, I sort of fell out of it for a lot of years. But I think that my grandpa's connection to the entertainment industry actually sort of boosted me along the like creative path. There were a lot of different creative, jobs that I tried out before I landed on art, uh, and so I like, man, it sounds like I've had the coolest jobs on the planet whenever I list them off, but I never made any money from any of them except
Yeah.
for art. So I I was an actor for a little bit. I did a little bit of like extra acting when I was like 13, 14 years old.
Like
Um,
Broadway?
no, no, no. It was for like small films and stuff like that. The biggest thing that
Ooh.
I was ever a part of, I actually did get to be in a movie with Orlando Bloom for a little
Oh,
like
the one you posted in our
yeah.
server. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
just 7 days of shooting for that, whatever. I made very minimal money. I never a part of union or anything like that. After that, I was I was a magician for a little while.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah,
For real?
yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Uh, and then I started with music, and I still play music a lot, like for myself. But um, I was actually I played a gig, every weekend basically for a long time. Um, and then I started to like rediscover art, and my partner actually encouraged me to pursue it. Bless her heart, because I was awful when when she saw what I did, but she really encouraged me, and I did. I took off, and 10 years later, here I am.
10 years later. So that was 10 years ago. How old were you?
So I was 21 when I really started, like, buckling down to um, trying to get better and make it, actually make it into the industry and stuff like that. I was at 21.
Okay. So before that, when you're creative at heart, I'm getting that from you. Did you draw on the side in between acting or music gigs?
Yeah, yeah, I did. So I always doodled. It was just like dumb ideas that I had. I never really knew how to accomplish any of the ideas that I had, but I would still just approximate the best that I could. Um, and actually, a lot of those original ideas that I had back then are ideas that I've like redone since then. Um,
Uh-huh.
but also, there's only so much time you can dedicate to something like that when when you got to
In a
make
day.
money and pay bills. So
Ah, I sympathize. I know that all too well. Wait, I'm really curious. So, what did you take for college?
ow. All right, so I actually went
Oh,
to an awful school called ITT Tech. It was actually shut down for fraudulent practices and stuff like that. uh, I actually I was very lucky. I got a full refund on the whole thing. I never got a degree from there because I saw like what was going on
uh-huh.
while I was there. It was awful. It was one of those for-profit like private schools that they have really predatory loan practices, um,
Oh,
that sort of stuff.
okay.
No risk of any sort of disparagement or anything because they were shut down completely. So anyway, um, but yeah, I went to school for drafting and design, so I wanted to get sort of into that field and then go to school like further for like architecture and stuff like that.
Oh,
Um, at the time, it felt like it was the only way that I was going to make money off of drawing. That's that was my mindset at the time. I definitely had some friends that were putting that in my head a lot. Like you're never gonna get money by drawing your dumb little drawings. Like
Ouch.
they didn't really say like that harsh, but that's kind of how it felt. That's how it felt to
Okay.
me for sure.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah,
All right.
and then so eventually I actually took a class there, and this guy would probably die to hear me say this, but he he was a teacher there. His name was Rocky Borders, which is like the coolest teacher name
That
on the
sounds
planet.
metal, man.
Yeah, dude.
Rocky board.
And he actually was in the video game industry, and I saw the work that he did, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I could actually make it, work. And uh, so between him and like being there and my partner encouraging me, it was like I'm gonna make the dumbest decision possible. Let's go. But it actually it worked out because I'm just stubborn enough to make something like this work. I think.
Okay. No, the reason why I ask because this is a pretty unique origin story, if I can put it that way.
Yeah.
Because you were trying out other things on the side. You didn't start right away with art. Some people do. They do it guns blazing. No, you were enjoying music and you were enjoying acting. What pushed you aside from your partner? I know you said your partner encouraged you, but what was that point of no return for you? Because some people can
Mhm.
take inspiration from that. Like they might be hesitant, they might be comfy, or like they enjoy doing this one thing, but they also want to do art and make a career out of that. So what pushed you to do that other side?
Hmm. That's a very good question. Um, I don't really know what exactly about art made me 100% stick with it. However, I know that at a certain point, I just felt like the stories that I wanted to tell were getting told in the art that I was making, and um, yeah, so it just felt like a natural way to push my career because I have a you know we have clients and we have briefs and we have things that we have to accomplish that are not necessarily like our ideas and our stories that we want to tell. But even within those like briefs, we can still tell our own stories and we can bring our own sorts of like why into it. Um, and so I really I like that aspect of this job. Just being able to come, if I get a character that doesn't have an extensive backstory, I like to think up an extensive backstory for the character. Um, it helps me make choices for 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 the character as far as like design and mood and feel and stuff like that. And so I think parts of that are the like personal story of my own that I can add into those. And
Uh-huh.
I think that's ultimately what I really enjoy about this specific field.
How did that conversation go with your mom? Because earlier on with Red, you were talking about her support. So, without spoiling that, at the time, a while ago,
Yeah.
I was hoping you guys would save it for this one. So let's get to that. You, so that whole situation with your school happened, and then
Mhm.
you were looking for gigs as an actor and then a musician. So it sounds like you were close with your mom. When you told her that, "Hey, ma, I'm gonna switch careers," how'd that go?
Well, initially, I mean, she's always been a huge supporter for me. Um, like for a long time, it felt like it was just me and her, and and then there was everyone else. We kind of had each other for a long time, and so she's always been super supportive, even when she like voiced like concern or doubt or anything like
Mhm.
that. She was always very much like, if this is something that you want, like you're gonna go for it, and I'm gonna support you in it.
Oh,
Which is incredible. Uh, a lot of people don't have that, and I was incredibly privileged to have support like that. In addition to, I mean, especially at the point where I had decided to make this my career, I was already an adult, so I didn't necessarily need my mom's support, but her support meant a lot, 100%. And then of course, my partner's support was like, you know, you get the two. It felt like if especially at that time, the two most important people in my life, uh, you
yeah.
know, like they're the ones that are supporting me and pushing me to do this. So I felt like I owed it to them to really give it a shot. Um, yeah. And the reason I say at the time is because now I have a son and the three most important people in my life,
Oh,
So uh, I don't want anybody to read into that and think I got like divorced or something. But anyway,
no, no. They were
uh,
reading in between the lines. Wait a second. What? No. Okay. Now, so we got that support from your mom and your partner. Those are like two buffs that not a lot of artists have.
mhm.
But despite that, I'm pretty sure you went through some growing pains as an artist. What were they? When you were navigating through this, because you started when you were 21, right? And
Mhm.
I don't want to say that's late in the game, but
Uh,
it's not
it
exactly
kind of
super
is.
early.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Some people start when they were teens, right? So,
Mhm.
what were the things you encountered? Like, I don't want to say problems, or maybe challenges, hurdles.
Well, I feel like my age never really was that much of an issue for like once I did get to a good enough level to start doing work. It was never really a hindrance because I exist primarily online as far as this industry goes. Because in Kentucky, like especially this area of Kentucky, it is art dead zone. There's a couple of cities nearby that are kind of art hubs, but I don't exist there, and so people don't really see me, or they can't really judge me based on like my age or appearance or anything because they've never met me. Um, but uh, still, that like starting that late, like to get serious about something, it does feel like you're playing a catch up game the whole time.
Oh, I feel you on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it I had to stop myself eventually because I was never. I wanted to get like I want to be there now. Like I need to do this level of painting right now, and so I like skipped learning a lot of the fundamentals initially to just jump in and be like try to be good. So
Mhm.
eventually I did have to be like, okay, hang on, like I can't even figure out how to draw these basic things, so let's go all the way back and start with the fundamentals again. And so it just feels like you're like I was constantly restarting my journey until eventually it just clicked. And obviously I'm not where I want to be, but I'm at least far enough along that I can sustain myself now.
Yeah. The reality is you gotta earn money on top of that, on top of the training, because you said you felt like you gotta catch up, and I really
Mm.
feel you on that. How do you get past that hurdle of supporting yourself while also like training back in the fundamentals and looking for a way to like earn, get by monthly?
Absolutely. That's always a really demoralizing time. Uh,
Yeah.
whenever you have to like what other people would call like a real job. You know, you have to
Oof.
you have to find something that's going to sustain you while you learn and while you grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I had to support, not only myself, but I had to support my family. And so I had a warehouse job for a long time where I was working 12, 13-hour shifts, and I needed to come
True.
back home and practice and work on my portfolio. And dude, it was soul crushing. It was not fun at all. And a lot of times while I was there, it was just like the, it felt like there was never a light at the end of the tunnel. And so, like, especially in this industry, because there's no set, like, you do this and this and
Uh huh.
this, and then you're
Yeah.
going to get a job. So it's always like why aren't people looking at my portfolio? Why have I never gotten a response from like any art director ever? In addition to working a job where it just like sucks the life out of you the whole time. So yeah, it's hard to get through that, and I can understand why a lot of people would decide that, hey, it's not worth it, to get through something like that. But eventually, I was lucky enough to I quit that job. I like had a panic attack, full meltdown. I like I was a manager there eventually, and
Oh, that's stressful.
yeah, and it just felt like I was a punching bag for both sides. Like, so eventually,
Mhm.
I walked out and I didn't go back. And
Respect.
yeah, like, uh, and then I was able to find a job where th- they literally said, "We're paying you just to be here, to be
Oh, that's
available for
cool.
like when we need you," basically. So I would have like several hours at a time of just time where I could sit and draw on paper and like
Cool.
practice. Um, so if you all ever find like an office job somewhere, 100%, like I recommend doing that. Bringing your iPad, bringing some paper along. It was the only office, pretty much the only office job I'd ever had, so it felt really cushy after the warehouse.
Wait, that was an office job. Okay, I thought you were like a housekeeper or like watch over this, but we'll pay you. Oh, that was an office job.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. So it was it was relevant to my experience in the warehouse a little bit, and I also had the education background of uh, like drafting and design. And so basically,
Cool.
I was doing like AutoCAD sort of situation, like sending dimensions and blueprints to like people who were going to make those things in a warehouse. And so like my job was to be available when the people needed me. So
Damn.
yeah, so it was a pretty awesome job for what I was trying to accomplish at the time. 100%.
So you were buying your agency back. So I've been listening to this other art podcast by lovely people with Patrick Jones, illustrator.
Yeah,
Shout out to them if they're here. I took one of his courses. So they always talk about that, like buying your agency. So it's okay to get a job on the side. And you just mentioned that. You did that horrible warehouse job, but then you also moved to that cool office job. But you also had time to draw. And then you saved up enough for you to transition. But before we get to the transition, how long did you do your day job?
yeah. So let's see. I was at the warehouse job for almost 3 years, and I was at the office job for about a year before I was able to transition into full time.
Okay.
So 4 years.
Again, that's we're all running in our own time. It's not a race; it's a marathon. For Bear,
Mhm.
it took him 4 years, so it's okay if some
Yeah,
people are
absolutely.
feeling behind. You know, yeah,
100%. Like people need to do what they got to do to survive, and like uh, I know we're artists, and whether we like it or not, art is secondary to survival. Like sometimes it doesn't feel like it, but it
Yeah.
is. And like definitely take care of your family, take care of yourself, um, take care of your mental health a lot too. Like that's so important. Um, I had really bad like undiagnosed issues throughout that whole time, and having people that are very supportive of your mental health and like trying to make sure that you have time also to just relax and like rest the body and rest the mind is very important. So if you're like in the in the hustle of like I have to do this job and then I have to do like this set out amount of hours of sketching and learning every single day, like that can burn you out really quick. So like you said, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So learn, but learn at a pace that you're going to be happy, you know, along the way. Because, dude, like you, I'm a nerd and I love the Stormlight Archive. Uh, and one of the radiant oaths is, journey before destination. We need to think about
Gotta
being
enjoy the
happy.
journey.
Yeah, being happy along the journey, not necessarily looking for happiness at the destination.
Okay. You guys heard that from Bear. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Now, while we're in this marathon, I guess we're somewhere in the middle. That light you talked about, at the end of the tunnel, one of them is Darrington Press. So, how
Mhm.
did you land that gig? Coming out from that earlier work experience that you mentioned, how did you end up working for Darrington Press?
Yeah. So uh, the the way that I transitioned into full time work, I was very lucky to find this group of people that were making a board game, and I don't know if it ever came to fruition, but they were really. It felt like one of those situations, in the Renaissance where like one of the rich people would just like buy an artist and have them like
Uh,
whatever
Become
on
a
retainer.
patron, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's sort of what it felt like because they sort of bankrolled my whole first year of work, um,
Cool.
and during that time
One
I was
whole
able to.
year.
Yeah, it was close enough. It wasn't a full year, but it was close.
Still.
It was
Yeah.
awesome. They were great, and they took a chance on me when they really didn't need to. Um, the let's see, the name was. I mean, it sounds very. To me, it felt a little bit generic, but it was like West of Souls. I'm hoping that they changed it by now because it. I don't know. Anyway, they were very awesome people to work with. Uh, but I think that they kind of were also finding their footing in the industry as well. Um, they did have a lot of money. Anyway, so on the way, like through that year, I was able to practice a lot more and get a lot more like studies and foundational things under my belt, to really level up everything. And I actually I got a really big job. I'm still technically not allowed to say anything about it. It was like 2020, um,
Okay.
and it's as far as as far as I know, it's canned. But I've just never gotten a clear on like being able to talk about it. But it was the job with Powerhouse that the project will remain nameless, I suppose. But uh, they got me on a call. I didn't even know who the people were at first. They didn't introduce themselves as being a part of Powerhouse initially. I got on this call and they dropped this big project on me, and I was like shock. I was a huge fan of the IP in the first place, and it just felt like things were falling into place, and it felt like at that point my career was gonna like take off. But then I
Uh-huh.
was never able to talk about that project ever again after that, and uh, so that kind of didn't help me a ton. It was great to work with them. It was awesome, but I thought that like a little bit of name recognition might happen, and it didn't. Uh,
Ah,
so, so along the, I want to say it was about a year. Yeah, I think it was about a year after that is when um, somebody reached out to me from Darrington for uh, for Daggerheart, and I had already heard about what they were doing with Daggerheart. I didn't know anything about like what was required for the project or anything like that. Um, and dude, as soon as I saw that Anthony Jones was attached to it, I was like, oh, this is real. Like this isn't like because
as soon as you see his name, it's
yeah, yeah,
legit.
yeah. So I see his name and I was like, oh, awesome. And then I saw like Dominic Meyer was a part of it, and like Darkin, which you guys just spoke to Mike
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a couple weeks ago.
Hmm.
Um, and dude, I was just so excited. Everything was so like I felt, and it's funny because I don't think that they realized at first that that was sort of my breaking in point for for this industry.
Oh,
Um,
fake it till you make it, man.
yeah, so I was like, I know that I asked a couple of questions, and they were like, "Wait, wait, we someone who knows what they're doing wouldn't ask this question." But yeah, it was very good. I they just found me on ArtStation. I think
Oh,
is
cool. Like you didn't
yeah,
send out an email, art drop, or anything.
dude.
They went to you.
I have the worst luck when it comes to cold calls or like sending
Uh-huh.
my
Cold email.
portfolio out. I don't think I've ever gotten a response sending a portfolio out. It's always people randomly finding me on like somewhere, which
So, on that note, what do you think was the artwork, or where did they find you? Did you ever find out how they find you?
no, people don't ever answer that question. It drives me
Shit.
insane. It drives me insane. I'll like write out an email and it'll be one question and they just won't. They'll be like,
So
no,
let's just say, just keep posting your work out there.
yeah,
Yeah.
somewhere, somewhere is working out for me.
Okay. Where do you mostly post in? Instagram, ArtStation, both?
So I post on Instagram, ArtStation, Kara, and
Okay.
Blue Sky.
Okay, guys, take
Um,
note. Just post, keep blasting your stuff there. Someone will reach
yeah,
out to you.
yeah, man.
Alright.
It's weird how things work in this industry and like how people come to find your work. It's mystery to me, but hey,
Yeah.
it's working out somehow.
And on that topic, were there any unexpected bumps? Because you said a while ago you were asking stuff a seasoned veteran wouldn't normally ask. So,
Mhm.
since you were kind of breaking your way into it, what were some of the bumps that you hit along the way?
Oh, for sure. So I think I want to back up just a little bit
Okay.
because another like recommendation that I have for people is like going to conventions, stuff like that,
Ooh.
and
Okay.
finding people that like you show your portfolio to and that they believe in you is awesome. Uh, and like I know that they do like dedicated portfolio reviews at certain events, but I went to Gen Con like a couple of years ago, and I found an amazing artist. His name is Eric Deschamps. Desch, French last name. I'm butchering it probably. Uh, anyway, he took a look at my portfolio. I I was too nervous to ask him, and he was like, "Do you want me to look at your portfolio?" I was like, "Yes, please, thank
Oh,
you." And and he was like, "You know what? I'm gonna email you, and we're gonna talk." And I was like, "Okay,
oh,
awesome." So we talked, and he actually spent like 6 months, like giving me feedback on piece after piece after
damn.
piece. Dude, it was amazing. But it was one of those things where if I hadn't put myself in that position to be in that convention, I never would have had that connection. And um, so him preparing me for the industry, he's a artist for Magic the Gathering. He also does like children's
Cool.
story illustrations and stuff like that. Um, Dude, amazing person, very kind to me. Um, but he sort of put me through that boot camp that I needed of like, you need to really pay attention to these details. Like, here's where like the focus point needs to be, and like all this other, typical things that people should know after they learn a certain amount. Uh, but he definitely called me out on a few things I needed to be called out on, and so through that, I think is why the people at Darrington probably saw my artwork as maybe someone who is a little bit more seasoned than I actually was at the time. Um,
Cool.
just because like I had gotten that feedback for 6 months, and really I went
Oh,
through.
so in essence, a mentorship. You got a
Yeah,
mentorship.
and
Oh,
and that's not a knock on anybody who does paid mentorships or anything like that. That's awesome. But also, if you're able to find someone that just believes in you enough to like, hey, send me an email once every couple of weeks and we'll talk about it. That sort of thing is very nice as well. uh, but yeah,
yeah.
so through that is I believe why they reached out to me for Daggerheart.
Okay.
And
With that, with that mentorship, um, were there things not discussed in that mentorship that caught you by surprise in during Daggerheart? What was it? Smooth
uh,
sailing?
for the most part, yes,
Cool.
it was smooth sailing. I think Eric
Uh,
really prepared me for like the stages of the process. However, there were a couple of things where um initial you know my personal way of working pre Daggerheart was I just sketched in line and like black and white, and like would like send thumbnails like that to a client before, and they would approve that. And of course, through Daggerheart, I sort of learned that there's a little bit more expected of you know a professional, especially in illustration, where mood and lighting are so important. um, you definitely have to like put that stuff in there as well. um, and sometimes I'll do like a black and white thumbnail, like with some basic lighting. Sometimes I'll throw some color in there depending on how complicated it is. But yeah, that was one of the things that, like, I remember when I submitted my first sketch to Anthony Jones for my first uh, thing, and he is such a bro for the whole thing.
oh,
Anthony was great. um, but I remember I sent this. It was like just a black and white like line sketch of this thing, which I thought, was pretty intense. And he was like, "Don't go that far with the lines. Let's focus on lighting and mood and like this sort of stuff first, and then get to the lines. Like you went way too far with that. Like uh, focus that energy elsewhere, basically." And
ooh,
I was like,
okay.
got it. And I think just those little things along the process, having an art director that was so good with, it felt like he was really really good with people. um, uh, and I really appreciated that. Yeah, yeah. So sorry, I ramble
No,
sometimes, so I
no, it
apologize.
looked like you were reminiscing. I didn't want to like
Oh,
you
no,
because okay. But on the
my
topic
bad.
of like reminiscing, dude,
Mhm.
your art director is Anthony Jones. How was that experience? Like, was he like Gordon Ramsay? Like, did he put bread in between you? All right, no, no, were you in between bread?
I'm an
Digitally.
I'm an idiot sandwich. Yeah. No,
Can you
no.
expound more on that? Like, oh, aside from that experience, I like that what you said, and how he told you to focus that energy somewhere else
Mhm.
before you get into the fine lines. What other things were like the important lessons that you got only from Daggerheart, from that unique experience with Anthony Jones
Mhm. That's a great.
that you can share?
Yeah,
Like that's not under NDA. Trying to be safe here.
yeah, for sure. Um, I feel like through the process of Daggerheart, especially as you go from my first piece to the last couple of waves that I was doing, I feel like my pieces got a little bit more dynamic and cinematic, like which
Cool.
is what they were. That was sort of the keywords that they kept pushing was like cinematic, dynamic movement sort of stuff. They really wanted sort of like a League of Legends esque um,
Splash
feel.
art. Yeah.
Yeah, which typically those splash arts take about 4 weeks to do, and we didn't really have that for a lot of those pieces. Uh, I mean, which was I'm working with those restrictions definitely forces you to um, problem solve a little bit differently sometimes. Um, but yeah, like I think that getting the feedback from Anthony Jones and even some of the other artists, because we all sort of messaged each other and we kept up. There was a board and like everybody sort of kept up with each other's stuff. We were
That's
all
cool.
each other's biggest fans basically, and um, so through that process, not only through just having Anthony Jones, but also talking to the other artists, especially like Simon and Jeffrey
Mr.
Ernol.
Daggerheart.
Ernol, yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. Um, let's see. Oh, Jenny Tan. Like I felt like me and Jenny Tan were sort of in the trenches together uh,
Oh.
on a lot of projects. We'd be messaging each other back and forth, like, "Are you getting this done on time?" Like, I don't know. Like,
Oh, it sounds like college, man. Are you going to class? I'm gonna cut if you cut. That's a nice little support group you guys had. I didn't know that. I know you guys have like a Discord server. Yeah.
yeah,
Or was it Slack?
yeah,
I think it was Slack. Yeah.
yeah. So it started on Slack, and then it went to Discord, and then there was like another Discord was made because the original Discord was like it was like more Daggerheart oriented things, and then the other stuff it was like it's just yapping and memes and stuff. But uh, but yeah, we did like there was you know a few of us definitely like bonded together, and I feel like I made a lot of friends that are very valuable to me, very very
Mhm.
valuable to me right now. But yeah, Daggerheart was very challenging but very fun for me. I know um, yeah, it was kind of a challenge in terms of for me specifically like
Yeah.
getting like learning about color theory and like how to portray different emotions or different scenarios through different colors and details and stuff like that. So I the whole
Can you guys hear my dog? I'm so sorry. She has like an anxiety attack whenever my mom gets. I'm so sorry about that. She's a little she poodle. She's small. She has like a blouse on. She's not really a big dog. I'm sorry about that.
No, you're good. It's fine. I didn't expect it. I was like, oh my god. All right. Um, sorry. What?
My bad. No, no, you're talking about
No.
Daggerhurst.
No. So, yeah, I think through the process of Daggerheart, learning um, a little bit more how to control colors to fit a sort of narrative um, was. I think I'm a little bit better at that now than I was when I started. Uh, yeah,
I
which
got
I
a
did.
trick question.
Yeah,
Before that mentorship, do you
yeah.
think you would have been ready for Daggerheart, or was that mentorship necessary for you to come out in one piece?
That's a great question. Um, I think, dude, I honestly think that mentorship is what prepared me. Um, I was definitely, I don't think I was bad beforehand, but there were definitely a few weaknesses that I had built into my process over the years.
Built
And
into your process. Oh, I like how you framed that. Okay.
yeah, it was like, consistently making the same mistakes over and over and over again will solidify those things into your process. And unless you're questioned on those and like told like, hey, this isn't working on multiple pieces, like it sucks to hear sometimes, but you have to hear it and you have to, take it. Which that's another like huge thing that I think that artists need to nurture as a skill is to receive feedback, receive criticism from people, and not get defensive. I genuinely believe that me not getting super defensive and like offended when people give me feedback is part of the reason why I continue to get work um, from like repeating clients and stuff. Because like when they ask me to do something or they say something's not working, I don't like. I'm like, especially if it's a client. A lot of times, clients they know if something isn't working, but a lot of times they don't know why something isn't working. So if they say that something's not working because of this, like you don't necessarily need to get caught up on the this. They're saying it's not working, and it's your job to figure out why.
Mm.
Um, so I'm not saying don't address those points, but if you get too hung up on the detail of what they're saying, then sometimes you miss what's actually going on in their feedback. Um, but yeah, like receiving criticism and receiving feedback is super important. Not getting defensive. You know, I've had like whenever people have messaged me, of course, I love to like try to pay it forward. And like if
Mm-hmm.
somebody wants to like have me look at their piece, I love to look at people's artwork and give them like a little bit of feedback. Um, but if I give you feedback and then people like respond with,
Ooh.
well, like it's like this because of
They
this,
start
and like
explaining. Yeah.
yeah, they start explaining. And I'm like, I love that you have a reason. I love that. I'm sorry, whatever it is, it just isn't working for me. And like my feedback, like you can take it, you can leave it. That's fine. You don't have to follow my advice. But like in the future, if you don't receive that criticism well, and you continue to like message me and like ask me for things, I'm like less inclined to help because I'm like,
There you go.
Like it's not necessarily like oh screw you. It's like whatever I said didn't work for you last time, and so like in the I don't know why I want to invest more if you're not listening, like that sort of
Yeah,
situation. Um,
that's some sage advice right there, guys. Especially for the younger artists right there.
and it's really hard. It's super hard to not take things personal. Art is, and I know everybody when they talk about criticism, they say something similar, but it's like
Uh-huh.
it's us. It's our heart on canvas, and it feels like when people reject that, they're rejecting us. But it's like when we get that feedback, we have to understand that like most of the time people are trying to make us better. They're not trying to tear us down or make us feel worse. um, Especially for someone like the person that mentored me, Eric. Like he was already doing the job that I want to do. Like he's currently doing it, and if he has advice for me, then obviously I need to take it. Um, so for sure, I think that's a huge thing is being able to receive feedback and not you know burn burn that sort of bridge metaphorically of
Uh-huh.
you know not like asking for feedback and then not listening. But,
That's some sage advice from Bear, guys. So hope you took down notes on that. Now, on the topic of giving more advice to younger artists, what sort of suggestion or how would you advise younger artists on how to keep moving forward in this industry? Because again, it's a marathon, not a sprint. A lot of things can happen between. Layoffs are pretty rampant, and then there's a whole
mm,
topic of AI, unfortunately. So, what would be your sage advice on how to just put one foot in front of the other?
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So a lot of that is, I mean, it comes down to mindset of like what do you want to do with art and why are you doing it.
Mm-hmm.
um, and for me it's the answer is like it's stories. I like to tell stories and I like to do, of course I love to do like research, and I'm a big history buff as well, so like art is the way for me to channel all of that into one thing. And like if I wasn't getting paid for this, I would still be doing it. Like I would still make art. So it would just be for me, obviously, but
Yeah.
I would still be doing it. Um, but really, I feel like if the question is like how do you continue to do art even when it's hard, then it's to find that reason why you're doing it and nurture that. Uh, but also, if the question is like, how do I break into the industry? Like that's such a
That's a different
complicated
one.
and
Yeah.
question. But the way that I see it is every day that you do art, every time you post a piece, you're rolling the dice, and like eventually, at some point, those dice are going to come up in your favor. Like it is luck a little bit, but it like to win at something you have to roll the dice. So like if it's just not worth it, if like you don't want to continue, if it's bad for your mental health, like obviously that's like doing art is not necessary for one's survival. So you're able to like take a break or just not pick it up again. That's very sad to me. I hate that. But uh like if you want to be able to make it into the industry, in my opinion, the people that are too stubborn to stop are the ones that are going to continue to roll the dice more often, and those people eventually are going to fall into like, they're going to roll the dice and it's going to come up exactly how they want it to, or it's going to at least get them into the industry somehow. Hopefully, I know that that's very like one size does not fit all for every. This sort of
Yeah.
this industry is so unsteady and uncertain, which is why I'm just saying, like, just put in the time every day, post work when you can, post good work, like, get your portfolio, like, whenever you're putting your portfolio together, don't just throw everything into it. Make sure that,
Important note. Yeah.
yeah, trim it down. Uh, I don't know the perfect number of pieces. I've heard some people like throw out like the scientifically correct number of
There's a
pieces in a
science
portfolio.
to it.
I don't know. Some people claim it. But it's like whatever you have in your portfolio, make it good. Make it the best you can. And that hopefully that impact of those pieces goes far enough to speak to someone who's looking.
Mhm.
But yeah, anyway.
I think that was a perfect way to cap off this segment. So, with
Oh,
that, the interview now comes to a close, and now begins the critique session. I don't know how else we could end with that. That was strong right there. So, once again,
I
thank you,
appreciate it. I
thank you
I
for
feel
that.
like I ramble sometimes, so I appreciate that.
No, no, no. If you can just see the chat right now, Ella just says, "No, we love it when you ramble, man." Also, sorry guys
I
about my
appreciate
dog.
it.
She has a little anxiety attack when my mom comes home. She's a small dog. She fought a snake. She might be small, but she fought a snake. I was scared shitless, but she fought that snake for me. Yeah. So
Dude, that's
sorry
amazing.
about that, guys. Yeah, dude, I was pissing my pants calling for my dad because there's like I don't know if it's normal to find a snake in your house there in the states. Here, kind of
Mm,
happens every now and then. So
okay, gotcha.
yeah, she was my
I
guard dog.
I don't think I've ever found a snake in my house, but definitely out like just outside for sure. Like not quite inside, but it's like he was about to knock on the door, sort of thing.
Unfortunately, the snake slithered its way inside. It's like the second time, but this time we had our little dog. So she was in her little tank top. My mom got her like this cute tank top. She looks so cute. But then when I look behind her, like, what? Oh, she's so aggressive. For like, was she fighting a rat? No, there's a snake. So that's how tough she is. And you just heard her little commanding bark. So I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. Once again, I'm sorry about that, guys. We're
Oh,
gonna go to the critique
dude,
session right now.
for defending you against a snake, she can bark all she wants.
Yep. Here she goes, guys. Oh, hello to our listeners. We got a bunch. Hello, Chunky Python. Speaking of snakes, we have a Chunky Python in the audience right now. Hello,
Heck yeah.
Jonas. Hello, Dan. Hello, Vanita. Hello, Rev. Oh, Rev says, I gave up last year and applied for a BPO job. 6 months later, I saw an ad for interns in the studio. I was accepted. Another 6 months, I applied for a bunch of studios. I got hired finally as an artist. Oof, thanks, man. He rolled the dice, and
Dude,
the universe favored him. So congrats, Rev. It's
100%.
been a while. Nice to see you back here, man. So, yeah. Hello, guys. Hello, Frank Frere. I hope I pronounced that name right. So yeah, we're now doing the critique session. Please share your screen, Bear.
Oh, yeah.
Please don't click the red button beside it says leave. I don't know why they put it beside the UI designers. It's so dangerous. Um, Frank is asking, how can we get critiques? By becoming a supporter of Brushpoint, and you can submit your works on our Discord channel, and our guest for the month can critique it. So head on to our website at brushpoint.io and subscribe, become a supporter. Little self plug right there. Oh, okay. Speaking of critique, we have Dan. I believe, yeah, this is from Dan, right?
Yeah. I
Dan
believe
Robin.
so. Yeah. So I prepared a little bit for this guy. Um, Please don't judge me about my layers. It's my layers are all over the place. But so the original that was submitted was this guy right here. Um, so let me, because I'd love to read the feedback or the comment that came along with it. One second. All right, so the comment, yeah, Dan said, "Hey Bear, I really love your color work. I would love if you could help me see a way to push things to being a bit cleaner and more interesting. The character is Arian Blackwater, a tiefling pirate from one of the prompts by Clint. Uh, is it Searly?
I'm bad with pronouncing foreign
Yeah,
names. I'm Filipino.
yeah. Anyway, I feel like I'm always trying to find that balance of overall colors being not too monotone but still coherent. Um, so I love that question. I thought it was a very fun one to work on for sure. Um, so this is what we started with, and this is oh well, this is where what I ended with anyway. But obviously, I'll do a little bit more here. Let me pull up my references. References, a huge thing. I know that everybody talks about it, but references are huge. Sorry about this. I'm just trying to
No.
get it. All right. So,
Oh, before we
yep.
get really deep into it, are you comfy with answering questions while you're doing the critique session?
Yes, I can. However, I might not be super coherent sometimes if I'm in the middle
Okay,
of painting. So,
got you.
forgive me a moment, if I have a slip of the tongue or anything. Uh,
Got you. I'll
do
try to
you all
time
want
it
me to?
right.
Oh yeah, no, you're good. Do you want me to show the references that I picked, or
Oh, I believe that will help. Yeah, please, if
okay,
you can.
okay? So I like first off, I try my best not to do anything that's AI, but it's hard sometimes to go on Pinterest and not
Yeah,
find something that's AI.
unfortunately.
Anyway, so I picked a few of these here uh, to look at for today. I wasn't really looking at these while I was making the changes I already did, but um, one of the things that I was thinking about with a pirate sort of character was looking at this character. I feel like a lot of the things are very blue, which is fine, but I think that if you have like a monotone palette, the best way to overcome that monotone like property is by adding varying values of that tone. And it feels like everything is very uh, like it could use a lot more value. So I decided to put a little bit of like gold on this scale part here. I'm thinking, pirates. I think of pirates sort of similar as it's a German word. It's going to be hard for me. Landsknecht. I think that's what they were called. They were like mercenaries back in I don't know 1600s Germany, and uh, they were the only people, if I'm not mistaken, that were exempt from certain rules about like what they were allowed to wear, and it was because of like how aggressively short their lives were. The nobility were like, these guys are constantly risking their lives for us. We should just exempt them from like having to wear clothes like peasants, basically. And so they would use all of the money that they got to buy these big frilly like flamboyant things that they would wear on themselves as sort of like they would wear expensive things so that they could sell it later for their, whatever they wanted to do, like partying, drinking, whatever they were going to do.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm thinking about pirates as sort of that same situation, which I haven't done a huge deep dive on like historical pirates yet, but I did on the Landsknecht a while back. Anyway, so I'm thinking about this sort of coat as if maybe this guy is a pretty prolific pirate, in my opinion, and he's got a lot of gold. So he's like, I'm going to melt it down into all of these scales, put it in this vest, and then anytime I need to buy a drink, I'll just pop one of these scales off and pay for, you know what I mean? So
He's
there's
wearing the
a,
currency. He's wearing his
yeah,
cash, his wallet.
he, like a life at sea, like you might not have like a chest that you can put all your belongings in. So maybe you want to wear some of your wealth just in case. So like these sorts of questions and these sorts of ideas are where I try to get my inspiration from and draw ideas from. Uh, and so I think that that's sort of like whenever I'm looking at this character and thinking it's too monotone, I'm thinking, okay, well, I can add some gold in here and I could come up with a story for why he has all that gold. Uh, as long as there's a reason for, what you're doing, the design can come after. I mean, like that's kind of an age old argument, like function and design, like, or form versus function, that sort of stuff. But I love the why. And I think that, um, I think the why is some of our like unique personal voice. Sometimes, like the story that we come up with behind characters, is something that's unique to us as individuals. Anyway, I also was thinking about this character as like if they were out at sea, they might not have like such a clean cut look in the face. Also darkened up the eyes a little bit to draw a little bit more attention, towards his gaze, because at this distance, it's kind of hard to see what's going on with the eyes in the original. So adding a little bit of contrast there,
Ooh, cool.
and then obviously, I'm thinking pirates. I think earrings, big flamboyant gold hoop earrings. Let's throw some of those bad boys on there. Um, Softened up the hair a little bit and broke it out into some different shapes and chunks. So that way, um, if you look at pictures of people standing in the wind, like it's it's easy to think of hair as just going straight to where the wind is going. But if you actually like look at people standing in the wind, you'll notice that wind is turbulent and it spins and it
Mhm.
forms around people. And so like instead of having hair that goes like straight, we can add some curve and you know th- some dimension to some of the strands, and it makes it a little bit more interesting. So really, I didn't do very much to this design. I didn't change a ton about it. I just added a little bit more color and a little bit more value. And then we got, I feel like something like this is going to stand out just a bit more than like the more muted palette. But we're not taking away from the original palette that's there. Like the gold doesn't overpower this image. We can always go back into this gradient map here, which is what I use to get that gold on there. Um, and we can always take that opacity down. And of course, I think I have something else over top of it, so it's not going to work on me. But yeah, like you can always put something in and then tone it down afterwards. Uh, and let's see, what else? What else did I have? I had some notes too. So, uh, all right. So let's see. I would say that as you're designing a character, one of the things that I love to do, and this may not work for everybody, but one of the things that I love to do is put on a documentary about the job or the like culture that I'm trying to represent. And I want to
Oh.
like find something unique. I want to find something that I like not a lot of maybe not a lot of people know, but people from that culture are going to know, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's a cool thing that they added in there." Um, I did that a ton with the Daggerheart pieces because there was sort of a push like later on to represent more like cultures and stuff like that. And uh, I probably watched, I don't know, I probably watched a documentary per piece that I did. Um, and I would just put it on while I was working. And it's not something that you have to really super pay attention to all the time, but um, as long as it's on in the background and you're sort of gleaning information from it, I do feel like if you're representing a culture, you it's kind of for me it's kind of the least I can do to turn on a documentary and learn a little bit about that culture, especially if I have no foreknowledge of that culture, prior to the project. Um, anyway, so yeah, so then I just changed the tail a little bit, and it doesn't like obviously it doesn't have to be this sort of like infinity symbol like figure eight sort of situation, but um, just something to actually give the tail a reason to be in the piece versus just as a byproduct of it's a tiefling. Like it's a tiefling, so he has to have a tail. Let's actually do something interesting with that tail while showing that he has a tail. And I know that like this tail would have to come in like back here.
I was gonna
So
ask, is there like a hole?
yeah, so we can obviously like throw in a little bit of a
Oh,
like a cut there,
yeah.
or something like that too. Um, but I've found that like especially once you get to this part of a painting, this is my favorite part where like you get to just add stuff. You get to like look online for different pirates and just be like, oh, that's a cool little detail. Like I'm gonna add that. So so like looking at these references, which I'm gonna have to make kind of small to fit. Uh, like I really liked this design a lot, and I felt like it sort of mirrors the. I mean, obviously it's a tiefling, so it helps. Um, but it also embodies a different design style than like a typical pirate. So if that was something that the intention like because this guy he this guy doesn't really look like the typical pirate to begin with. So the intention, I'm assuming, is to be a little, at least a little bit different than like the stereotypical pirate. So if we find something like that, uh, there's a lot of nautical themes in this design. There's like the net, there's the like shark teeth, the gold, like the different shapes and stuff
Spear.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it all looks like very interesting, and we can just add like bits of that. You know, let's see. obviously I need to put this on, always on top. But I mean, like thinking about like armbands or stuff, which I know that you have some beautiful tattoos on those arms, but don't be afraid to cover a little bit of them up with some accessories. Um, I like to I like armbands though. I'm a sucker for them. Sometimes I actively have to take them out of things because I'm like I've done too many armbands. I
Is
also
that like
like
something you catch yourself doing? Like something you have to be wary about, especially working on fantasy?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, 100%. There's a lot of things that like you gravitate towards, and if you're not careful, you'll do it for every piece. Because it just feels sometimes things feel so natural to just do. That was something that Eric called me out on for. It was like glowing eyes once. He was like, "You do glowing eyes too much. Like you need pupils." I'm like, "Okay, dang it." uh, and even when I was like doing certain like glowing eyes, he's like, if you want to keep this, you got to make sure that like the eyes react the way that they're supposed to, like do the subsurface scattering and everything. I'm like, okay, all right, I got it. Yes, sir. Yes, chef.
Your chef. Oh man.
I don't know why I'm spending so much time on this thing. Anyway, not this piece. The piece is great. I was
Oh
talking about
yeah,
the armband. Sorry, I don't.
it's okay, man. You're not gonna get crucified online. It's okay.
All right. I don't know why I'm
Uh,
looking at this piece of crap. No.
oh,
Anyway.
Dad says he loves the face and the horn jewelry. Uh,
Oh, awesome. Yeah, yeah. I think the face was my favorite part of the piece. Honestly, which it tends to be. I love faces, but I think he did the face really really well. Um, I just the contrast. Don't be afraid of adding contrast. I think that that's something that I was also kind of struggling with. Um, Contrast is scary because it feels like a decision. It feels like a like you're making a real
ooh.
choice, and uh, so don't be afraid of making those real tough choices sometimes.
Well, on the topic of like stuff you have to you catch yourself doing and you have to be wary about, what are some of the things that you kind of not exactly loathe, but find it harder to draw more than the others?
Uh, I have a hard time drawing large creatures a lot of times. I'm not. I've never really been a creature uh, artist, and I'm learning because I have to right now. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but that tends to take a little bit longer than um, than say like just a regular like a tiefling or
Humanoid, yeah.
humanoid type character. Um,
Mm-hmm.
at the moment, I'm painting a huge dragon for a client, and man, it's been a minute since I've painted a dragon, so I'm having to relearn how to do some of these things. Um, yeah, the, it's a whole different monster, you know. No pun intended.
No pun
Anyway.
intended. Ah, you beat me to it.
Yeah.
Alright.
So
Oh, you mentioned earlier. Oh, just a little side note, because I
yeah,
also play an instrument. What are you in the band? Like, what's your designation, so to speak?
yeah, I tended to be a guitarist. I have played a lot of different, instruments though. Um, I I'm not great at the piano, but I was passable. Uh, I also played, bass and ukulele and like all kinds of random
It's a lot.
uh, instruments. I love learning like niche, like weird little instruments too. So um, I don't have as many as I would like, but you know, I want
Mm.
I want one of those like little thumb kalimba things. Those look so
Oh, my
fun.
girlfriend has one of those. Yeah,
Oh man.
the ending um theme for Avatar, The Last Airbender. Yeah, you can
Oh
actually.
yeah,
Those were done on those. Yeah, the Columbus.
that's awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
speaking of guitar, I never graduated beyond the guitar myself. What's your axe of choice?
I'm sorry. Oh, acts of choice.
Uh, yeah.
Actually, I can show one real
Oh,
quick.
are we gonna show each other our guitars? I can do that too.
Just sorry for anyone who just watches for art. All right. Well,
This is
hang on.
art as well, man. It's a tangent. Forgive us, guys. It's just like 2 seconds.
All right. Hang on.
Is that a jazz master?
It is a jazz master. So actually, it's technically not because I like me and one of my buddies we built this one.
Oh,
Uh,
cool. It's a little project. Okay.
yeah. So I like got the headstock laser etched with my own like custom name and everything. Uh, but yeah, yeah. This
What's the
is
name?
awesome.
What?
I actually got insurance money to pay for this one because somebody
Oh,
uh, stole my Telecaster a long time ago. So,
oh, that
so
sucks, man.
I got replacement money and then just built my own. It was fun.
Do you name your guitars? Mine's Mikasa. Named
Uh,
after an anime character. Such a weird thing to do.
that's what was your name?
Yeah, her name is Mikasa. My SG's
Oh,
name is Mikasa. Yeah, from Attack on Titan.
nice, nice, nice.
Do you
Um,
name yours or
that one,
White
this one,
Horse?
I call the Hydra 2 because it was stolen. Or the guitar was
Oh,
stolen, and then I got this back. I was like, it's like a Hydra. Anyway, very nerdy stuff. Uh,
sorry guys, we had to geek out about gear.
yeah, my
We
bad.
haven't even talked about like our pedal boards. It's a little doom scroll moment right there. Are you part of Pedal Boards of Doom? The Facebook page group?
No, I'm not. I'm gonna be honest. I had a tough, really tough experience with music, and so like all of my stuff is very like minimal. I got rid of a lot of it. I don't really play music for other people anymore. It's just sort of my own
For
thing.
yourself. Right.
Yeah. Um, yeah. There's some like a little bit of trauma associated with it, I would say.
Aw, I'm
But
sorry for that, man. Yeah.
yeah, it's one of those things. It can just be my thing now. It's good. It's all right. But
Sam.
yeah. Um. Anyway, so back to our pirate year. Um. Let's see. So in this design, there's like a lot of ropes, stuff like that. Which we do have the ropes in the like sails and stuff, but
Uh-huh.
we can also of course, like I don't want to just like completely go in and change the design 100%. I'm just kind of giving ideas of like where you could go from here to like add story to the character. Because I mean, like where did this guy come from? What are like how did he get here? Who is he? And like I mean, these are the things that you don't necessarily have to answer in every single piece, but they could be questions that you ask and that you can get interesting answers for. Um, I mean, like, ultimately, this might sound harsh, but it's like, why should we care about this character? Why should we care about this piece at all? There is, and here's the thing, like, this did have a story already, so I'm not saying that that wasn't there, but you can boost that story with like little details and little questions that you ask yourself throughout the process of rendering. I think that sometimes like people let um, method and technique overshadow the why of a character, and that's a design choice too that can it's the difference between like that super impactful like eye grabbing art versus the piece that is less eye grabbing but has more like story, more emotional connection for the specific people that it reaches. And it's like which of those do you want to be? And I'm not saying either of those is better than the other, but I do think that those really high impact, like eye catching, super grabbing images can still have that why and that story behind it. So yeah, I think like this guy, he looks like he's at least a sailor here. Um, he's on a ship, obviously. Like looking out where we, he seems like he's exploring, like or looking out for land of some sort. But like my thing for this image, my immediate question was, where did he get these scales? Like I was super drawn because of everything in this image. Those scales are like sort of the most, like to me they were the most interesting part of the piece. And like there's obviously there's a glowing sword here which is really cool, but to me the scales really were like, what's going on with these? And so naturally I'm just trying to come up with a reason why they're there, and like adding a story to those scales and being like, this is the reason why they're there. Then you can kind of come back and like work on the method and like the method and technique and all that stuff once you have the idea. um, or vice versa, whatever. Like you can do the design first and then come up with the why. It's just uh, there's a lot of ideas that you can come up with to, like, I mean, like how long has he been at sea too? Like we could also add like patina to the gold. We could add some erosion. That's something that I always like to do, is like add that sort of like green blue like patina to things. um, which I
Make
think
them
it's
a bit weathered.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, like, and
or
if
the
it's got
oxidized.
patina on it, like it doesn't necessarily mean that he doesn't care about the thing. It's just he's at sea. That salt air is gonna erode things.
Sunlight, yeah.
Yeah, and I know that gold is less susceptible to that than some other things, I believe. But still, like, there's so many things that could be going on, and this guy is probably going to be out in the sun quite a bit, uh, which the color doesn't necessarily have to change, but like something to think about is like, what does this blue skin look like when it gets suntanned? Like, while he's out in the sun probably all day, like pulling on these ropes, like he's probably, getting a little bit darker day to day. So like anything that, like while you're like hoisting ropes and stuff like that, anything that's not like touching the sun, you could make a little bit more pale. It's just a little bit of
Storytelling.
storytelling, which is such a mystical word that nobody really knows like what each other means by it sometimes. Uh, but yeah, like getting those little. Sorry, my chair is like stuck on my headphones right
Oh,
now.
you're the cable.
I was like getting distracted by that. While oh god,
It's okay, man. Take your time.
I just
I
unplugged
don't want you
everything.
having an accident.
Sorry.
Oh, crap.
All right. There we go. I'm good.
Okay. Didn't want you having a little accident right there.
Yeah, it's like we're gonna give you some trouble right now. Anyway, I also changed the color of the shirt just to add a little bit more variety to the values there. Um, to me, like thinking about this character in this sort of situation, the white of this doesn't seem like enough of a change from the pants to be like,
Oh,
you know what I mean? It
yeah.
kind of goes together. So to like my thought process was either I have to go like a lot lighter or a lot darker. And in my opinion, if I went a lot darker, I could have, probably done like we could have like damaged him up a little bit, like made everything a little bit more rough. Or we could go the opposite direction where this guy is maybe like a higher ranking pirate on the ship. I don't know if that's how it works, but whatever. Maybe he's less prone to get into the fray of things and he sort of like oversees for the most part. Maybe he gets the lion's share of the loot, so that's why he has such a nice like clean white shirt right now. Uh, just different. Obviously, I keep saying that, but it's just some things to think about. I also just beefed up the shoulder a little bit. I I liked I liked this, but I also like that, so I just did it. There wasn't really a
Just
it
sailor
didn't
arms.
yeah, it's not necessary, but I just like to do it anyway. Um, yeah, so let's see.
Oh, we got a question from Ella. Will you ever do performance arts again, or is illustration definitely more fun for you?
Um, hmm, that's a good question. I don't think I'll say never. Um, but at the moment, I'm happy doing what I do. I'm happy to kind of keep to myself and like play, for the people in my immediate life. I think that's more fulfilling for me at the moment than anything that I did before ever was. So, um, of course, I do like to write and record music as well. So, I will never say that I won't ever put stuff out there again. But you know, just not in the cards right now.
About acting?
Hmm. Probably not. I'm gonna be honest. Whenever I was doing acting, I was still very very young. I was a lot braver than I am now.
Oh, I
uh,
get you,
yeah, I
man.
tend to want to kind of keep to myself a lot, and the amount of socializing required to be an actor is a little bit more than what I'm willing to do. That's not to say that people aren't cool. I love people, but it was really crazy. Like being on set, especially at 13 and having like multiple anxiety disorders and stuff like that, and like being around, hundreds of people for, you know, 8 to 12 hours a day was kind of me thinking about that right now. It sounds like the worst time of my life. So let's not do that.
Respect.
Yeah, not for a job, like I love going to conventions and meeting people and talking to everybody. I love that, but if I have to clock in and be around hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, I just don't have the social battery for that anymore.
Alice says that's definitely understandable.
Thank you for the question though. That's very cool. I've never I haven't been asked questions about like acting and stuff like that in so long. Um, so it's fun to talk to people about it now.
Dan says, I've got to run to work. I'll finish watching this on the VOD later. Thanks so much for the paint over. So much great info here. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Thank
no
you, Dan.
problem. Yeah, thank you for submitting. That uh, I it always makes me feel really good when people ask me questions about color because they they like how I do colors because I always feel like I'm fumbling around as well. So, uh, but yeah, I appreciate it, Dan. Thank you so much. But yeah, I'm just sort of messing around with shapes right now, just experimenting, which is a huge part of my process as well is the experimenting, especially once it gets to this stage where like I feel like this piece, just given a little bit more time rendering, it could be done. Uh, but I also really like to get to that point where, in a few hours I could be done, or I could come up with some really cool ideas between now and then and just force myself to paint more.
Ooh. Have you ever played D&D and really went into character? Oh, someone's asking that. Like, do
Oh,
you play D&D?
I don't tend to now. I would love to find a group. Uh, but yes, I would like whenever I did play D&D. It's been a little bit, but I loved getting into character. Uh, I played my first character that I ever played was a wizard that it was
Hey,
a divination wizard who could see the future, but only when he was drunk. And I thought that
oh,
that was just a really fun way to play that character. Um, so like what we would do is like like the DM would say that I like after I was drinking or whatever, he would say that I have a vision, and then he would sort of scramble it up as if it was like written in a drunk hand, and then sort of give it to me, and then we would all have to decipher what sort of prophecy I came up with while I was drunk, like sort of decipher the drunk text. Uh, it's ridiculous, but it was fun. A lot of fun.
speaking of high elves, like my first campaign, I was also a high elf. I was a high. No, I was a wizard. Sorry, not that because you were a wizard as well. So, but my character, Lord Marty, he was a high elf wizard, but then he was a magician. uh, doing cheap parlor tricks. So he kind of got washed up and stuff. He was from the inner
Gotcha.
city. Yeah, and then all my campaign mates were like, "Where do we find this guy? He's our wizard, but he's stumbling all over the place." So I feel you on that little nuance. Just
Yeah.
it's cool. I thought it was cool. I thought I could. I had no idea how to play. I just knew like it was a role playing game, so I was like, I want to change this guy into a rabbit because he's giving me such a bad time. And the DM was like, "That's not how it works, man." He was getting fed up with me. Like, I'm a wizard. Don't I do that? No. He
Yeah.
wanted to kick me out. Fun fact: my DM was my thesis advisor, so this was after thesis in college. Played.
Oh my
Gone were
gosh,
the
dude.
days. Yeah, Lord
That's so
Marty.
funny. Because,
Yeah,
like,
first name
whatever.
was Lord. Oh
Lord.
yeah, was it? Yeah, last name was Marty.
Oh, that's so fun. Oh, man. Love that.
Well, hello Neil. Thanks for hopping in the stream. Yeah, Neil is my workmate. Welcome,
Oh,
welcome.
nice.
If you guys have any question for Bear, feel free to drop them in the live chat. I'll call them out. Oh,
What's up,
oh
Neil?
yeah.
Yeah. So, just sort of talking through what I'm doing at the moment is just adding a little bit of like darker values, some occlusion shadows. Um, I definitely think that that was one of the points that I would have like in an email feedback. I probably would have pointed out the contrast more more so than most of the other things. It's just I do feel like I get scared of contrast, and I know that other people get scared of contrast too. Um, I actually I have another piece that I was working on for my son. If anybody wants to check this out, um, so like painting this whole thing, going from like one of the like works in
Oh,
progress to this, uh, like everything felt like really washed out because I wasn't like I hadn't gotten to the deep colors yet. Um, like the deep shadows, not deep colors, deep shadows. And so like once I added those like really dark, you know, shadows to it, it started to come alive a little bit more. I'm still not 100% finished with this one, but like before I added the shadow, I would open it, but my who knows what kind of files I have laying around there. I don't want any NDA stuff to pop up. Uh, but yeah, like as I'm giving this feedback, I'm trying to also solidify it for myself. Like, don't be afraid of contracts, Bear. Anyway,
oh, I
yeah,
think.
I really appreciated Dan's submission. I saw it the day that he posted it in the Discord. I felt like my heart warmed. My heart grew three
Oh,
sizes that day.
nice one. Bear heart enlargement.
Which is actually a problem in the real world. So
Uh huh.
please don't do that.
Eat healthy. Oh, JS says like my first character was a tiefling road, and I had the pet rat. There was a moment where we had to do some reconnaissance, and I sent my rat, but the DM was like, "Nope, you can't go through traps." So my pet rat died.
Oh
See, that's the
no!
challenging thing. It's a tricky part about starting out in D&D. Like, what can you not do? It's so free flowing because it's a role playing game, right? So
Yeah,
you normally
yeah,
think like, dude, he's my pet rat. I can command him, right? No, that's not how it works.
yeah, yeah. It's really strange sometimes because like how it was pitched to me because I was like So when the person asked me to play a D&D, I was like, "Oh, that game for nerds." Like, uh,
Oh, ouch, bro.
no, I know, I know. Uh, I didn't know anything about it at all. Truly, uh, whenever I
Thought you were
first
good.
started,
Good thing you didn't say like virgins or something. Like, oh,
no,
ouch, bro.
no. Anyway, so the way it was pitched to me, it was like you can do anything, and then like as I'm playing, I'm having a lot of fun, but then I'm realizing like, no, you can't do anything. Like you have to, like, tell me what I can do, please.
Exactly, man. Yeah, but I love that sort of semi freedom given because you're living it. You're sort of
Yeah,
embodying the role. It's like I wouldn't say it's like acting, but you're like part of a game and a movie at the same time.
yeah. Well, I mean, it basically just is long form improv. That's that's really all it is. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, 100%. I mean, like those skills are transferable for sure. Like if you're really good at D&D, like role playing D&D, you're probably, I mean, you've at least got a starting point on improv
Yeah.
and
Oh
vice
hey,
versa.
Anthony Avon is watching right now. He says bear
Anthony,
exclamation.
what's up,
Anthony, hey man.
Anthony?
Such a long time since we
Yeah, it's
last
been a
talked to Anthony.
minute.
He
Dude, I
hung
love
out a couple of
Anthony.
times in in the server. Yeah, he shares pics of his cats. In the server.
Oh,
Do you see those?
yeah, man.
Yeah,
I see the pictures of their
they're so
cats.
cute.
Like, oh man, love Anthony. His Anthony's like environment work is amazing.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
always really loved his environment work.
Good to see you again, Anthony. Hey man. Everyone say
So
hi.
blessed
Say hi
to
to Anthony.
yeah,
Man,
so blessed to have met him for sure.
let's check the comments right now. OJS said about the rat. He was the only friend my character had as a child, and he died first session. R.I.P. Timothy. Oh, that sucks. He died. Like that was the first session, and he died already. Man, how unlucky were you, man? I mean, I almost got my teammates killed in my first session, so who am I to dispute? I was the freaking wizard.
That's
I almost got everyone killed. Yeah. Oh,
oh
hello.
man, that's such an unfortunate session.
Oh, my bad. That wasn't JS that was talking. That was actually Red, the one with the rat. So, key point, the guy with the rat. My bad. uh, Man, that's rough, man. Timothy. Timothy. R.I.P. man.
R.I.P. Timothy. My
Eh.
son built a little like robot for school, and he named it Timothy. It was this little robot that had like three markers as legs, and you could turn it on, and it would just like do this sort of thing and like draw in circles.
That's cool.
And he called it Timothy. And then, one day it fell off the table and broke apart. He was like, Timothy. It's like, yeah,
Oh
sorry, bud.
no. Not not Timothy.
Not Timothy. What I'm getting from this is that like Timothy's are kind of accident
Unlucky.
prone. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're in a movie, in a horror movie and your name's Timothy, you're probably gonna die.
Yeah. That's like I feel like that's a given.
Sorry to all Timothys out
Yeah,
there.
yeah, sorry if your name is Timothy. Sorry you just learned this on here. What a bad way to find out.
I mean, we don't make the rules. It just happens. My bad. Oh, someone's asking. I didn't make it to the submission, but would you be open to message? to ask for feedback, or would that be crossing any boundaries?
Oh, I'm always I love. Oh, hang on. Oh God, my headset again. Um, I do love getting any emails, any correspondence, and stuff like that. I can't always promise that I'll be able to get to all of them, but I would always encourage people to reach out to me. I love that stuff. So, um, absolutely, no boundaries crossed there. Uh, I another random job that I had was I worked as a tattoo artist for a little bit, and
Oh, sweet.
like one thing that my mentor there always said was a closed mouth doesn't get fed. So if you
Oh, I
ever
like
have
that.
yeah if you ever have a question, ever feel like you need to reach out to somebody, do it. I mean, obviously, like as long as it's in a professional, way and kind and everything. Like, don't be very demanding, but um, like if you are genuine about wanting help, reaching out to somebody, it like I don't know who could be mad at you about that. And if they do get mad at you, like their opinion might not matter that much anyway. Um, but yeah, absolutely. If anybody ever wants to like message me, get advice on stuff, I would love to. Just like I
Okay.
said, I do have a limited amount of time. I'm a parent and a full time artist, so if I don't get back uh, with like a speedy reply, just don't be super surprised.
Got some comments here. Yeah, thanks. That's good to know. Here we go.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys. Okay. We'll
Anyway,
give it like 10 minutes or so if you guys have any more questions before we wrap up the show. We might want to ask Bear off tangent questions like me a while ago about guitars,
yeah,
where we geeked out.
absolutely. We can talk about any of the stuff too.
Uh, do you have any shows or series that you draw artistic inspiration from? I'm about to watch. Oh man, how do you pronounce this, man? Tekon Concrete for its art style. I hope I
Uh,
pronounced that right.
hang on. I okay. So the question is like, do I watch anything to
Draw
draw it?
yeah, inspiration from.
Gotcha. Um, it changes for sure, but honestly, one of my favorite places to draw inspiration from, a couple of places. We talked about Avatar: The Last Airbender earlier. Love Avatar: That Last Airbender. I love The Dragon Prince as well. Uh,
Mm,
both great shows. Of course, I'm a parent, so they're kids shows. Like I love watching that with my son. Uh, their designs are very like punchy. It's animation. Animation is a great place to get like shapes and design from because dude, animators are just on a whole different plane. Like in my mind, animators are like the peak of artists. Uh, anyway, so I like to watch animated things to get ideas because things have to be like really punchy. They have to grab you. They're simple, uh, and like studying those types of things will help convey complex ideas in simplistic terms. I think is the best way to sort of describe that. Plus, the world building is incredible in those types of shows. Um, and if you really like pay attention to like the background characters, like how people dress and everything like that, everything has a reason. Everything has a why, and it kind of trains you to see those like world building aspects of making characters and illustrations. So I really enjoy those types of shows. Of course, there's like I used to be a really big like I feel like everybody used to be, but like Game of Thrones was a huge thing, and I really like to
Uh-huh.
like watch that and draw inspiration from that. Um, Obviously, the big things like Lord of the Rings, uh, you know, are a huge impact on my work. That's also why I wanted to act, and that's also why I was in a movie with Orlando Bloom because I was dead set on that. Uh, I got to meet him for like 5 minutes, and I cried afterwards. I was
Damn.
I was overwhelmed as a child, 100%.
You met Legolas, man.
I
Damn.
know, dude. That was it. That like I as I was talking to him, I was like, "This is Legolas," and yeah.
I would love to meet Gandalf.
Oh, dude. Yeah,
Iconic.
yeah.
Oh, we got a question from Frank. I do have a question if we have time. How do you approach painting the subtle form variations on the face? It gives a much more realistic feeling, but when I do, it looks muddy. Ooh.
Oh, good question. Good question. So, this is a question that has a lot of answers depending on who you are and like how your what your technique is. But in my experience, whenever things start to look muddy, it tends to be because I'm not following like a um, an internal logic of my painting, right? So for me, if a face starts looking muddy, it's probably because I haven't figured out like where the color needs to transition to, and I tend to not. I tend to undersaturate things first and think, oh man, this looks muddy, and then I add more like color variation and saturation, and it tends to like clear up a little bit. So um, one thing that can help is gradient maps uh, if you learn how to use those. So let's just for kicks here, I'll open up a gradient map. We'll talk about it a little bit. So like if my internal logic for a painting is that the skin tones in the shadow are going to be blue, then I can find a blue tone here, and let's find a warm tone. Uh, so this obviously doesn't look that great, but you can also put it on like a soft light layer, overlay layer, stuff like that. And um, if you have that sort of it needs to match what else is in the image, obviously. So like if the rest of the image is the shadows are going more blue, then that's what you want to do with the face as well. um, but this will get you in a good starting position, and then once you've gotten to that like starting position, that's whenever I like go in with like an overlay layer or something similar. Sometimes I just draw it in, but I would go in and sort of redden up these areas, like obviously like the nose, the cheeks, a little bit of the lips, maybe. And uh, as much as I've said, don't worry, don't be afraid of contrast. Don't be afraid of saturation either. Uh, Saturation it gets scary when you get really saturated because you feel like maybe I shouldn't be here. Maybe this is too saturated, and sometimes it is, but like you might not know until you try it, until you go there. I mean, like it's kind of to me it kind of feels like it feels like learning how to like ride a bike or drive. you know uh if you if you never do things, if you never take like a a little bit of risk here and there, you're never gonna like learn your limits of like what you're capable of and like what is safe to do. Um, so like whenever I was learning how to drive, I grew up in the country. I was raised on a farm. uh, we had a really long gravel road, and that's how I learned how to drive. And I would drive on it a little bit fast sometimes. I would get, a little bit. I would slide a little bit on that gravel, and I would be like,
You
okay,
drift?
just
Damn.
get to where like I would just start to slip a little bit. I was like, okay, that's the limit. Okay, all right, bring it back down. I'm not recommending that as a way to learn how to drive, but I think that's a you're not going to get in a wreck and die if you add too much saturation to a painting. So it's safe to take those risks for a painting. Uh, but also, like, once you've done something, you can always test it against something else. Like, once once you get a character to the level you think, oh, maybe this is like, you know, a few hours away from being done. You can pull up a reference of what you're trying to accomplish and sort of match it versus that and see like, if you go into the face and you're like, okay, let's pull. And this would not be the reference I would choose to like look at a face, but if that was what you were doing, you could like go in here and make those comparisons and be like, okay, well, if again, this is a really bad example of face, but uh, like if the piece was less muddy around the face, you'd be able to compare it to your current face and be like, okay, here's what I need to do to clear it up. Um, that one's a little. This one's better, but it definitely isn't muddy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think that sometimes whenever things get too muddy, it's just because we are um, overthinking a sort of uh, we're overthinking the face. The face is just shapes and shades, and we put way too much mysticism into like what a face is. And I think a good way of getting rid of that sort of thinking about a face is honestly, I know people have probably heard this a bunch, but flipping an image upside down. Uh, if you flip it upside down, you're sort of forced to look at the face as a shape, as sort of an ambiguous object versus something you immediately recognize. And it makes it a little bit easier to be like, oh, this is where like I went wrong. Um, I mean, let's see.
It's my first time seeing someone draw a face upside down. Low key, Bear's flexing on us right now.
Maybe this is not as common as I thought. I've definitely heard this uh, suggested a few times, but it is tricky to learn how to do. But again, references are your best friend. Finding like flipping your reference along with your painting and just following that like I said, internal logic. It doesn't have to be super realistic to be good. It just has to follow a logic all the way through. If you're gonna make a choice based on like a lighting choice, right? That lighting choice needs to affect the same way. I mean, obviously, like if it's really strong right here and then it fades as it goes, like that's fine. But like the face doesn't get lit differently than the rest of the body the face needs to be lit. It has to have an internal rhythm and reason to it. And I think that a lot of times thinking about the face in terms of shapes and shades helps break through that barrier of uh, like worrying too much about it. It makes it a little bit easier to accomplish, I think.
There you go, Frank. Anthony says faces are hard. That's why I paint landscapes. Or you could do that.
They, yeah, faces are really hard. I get it, and we're predisposed to notice faces 100%. So, like, uh, if a face is off, we notice that quick. Like, people are just evolutionarily like predisposed to seeing correctly what faces are, and I think like if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that that's like a defense mechanism where if something looks off, like it might be a predator. So we,
Oh,
you know what I mean?
evolution, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, uh, so getting a face right does take work, uh, but it's again, it is one of those things where it's just shapes and shades. Uh, it, and something that I did notice and I really appreciate about this piece specifically is the amount of like subsurface scattering that's going um, on the skin, especially the shirt as well. But like that's I think subsurface scattering is one of the things that um, it's not 100% necessary to have, but it is like really good. Like when you can utilize it in the correct way. Um, and I think that sometimes when people are looking at reference, they they see that subsurface scattering, but they don't understand it, and so when they try to approximate it, that sort of turns muddy as well. Um, so even like just talking about the like internal logic of a piece, like if you're doing subsurface scattering on a certain part, you also need to do it like on anything else that's skin that's also being hit in that same way. Um, now, like for for this specific lighting scenario for this guy, I would want to double check it. Like I would probably build it out in 3D to like to double check the like where the light would actually hit on things. It looks like a really great approximation to me, but I would probably just double check anyway because I'm neurotic like that. But yeah. So
Yeah.
as far as like the muddiness and like light shadow, I would just references and building it out in 3D. That's probably where I would go to combat any of those things.
Thank you for that. Question, Frank. Oh, alright. Follow up questions for our guest Bear before
Mhm.
we wrap up the show in about a minute or so. Oh, we have a new subscriber asking about how to become a 2D game artist. I think that's a whole different conversation. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I see Red's getting to that, but I guess for recommendations for specific tutorials or exercises to practice 2D game assets, you definitely need fundamentals, lights and shadows, especially the forms. People can forgive a picture, but they won't forgive a drawing if it's off. I'll give
Hmm.
you that. As a junior 2D game artist, Uday, I think that's his name. Oh wait, I don't even know their gender. I think that's their name. So yeah, get the fundamentals in and be very vigilant when it comes to material rendering. So yeah.
Yeah.
Any more questions for our guest before we wrap up? If not, I, with the power invested in me, shall wrap up the show.
Fair.
So,
Fair.
This has been our Brushpoint interviews segment. This is Bear Frymire. So once again, thank you so much, Bear. If you
Absolutely.
have any projects or things you want or need support on, call them out here. Otherwise, where else can we follow you?
Absolutely. So first off, I am wearing a Tides of Tethys T-shirt today. Uh, I Jeffrey from Daggerheart is making this along with one of his friends.
Cool.
Uh, it is incredible. The trailer, I believe the trailer should be out soon. It's available to wish list. It's awesome. Jeffrey is an amazing environment artist. Uh, anyway, that's all I want to plug. It's not even my own thing. I I want to get that out there because he's awesome. Um,
Oh, okay.
and then I am on Blue Sky. I'm on Instagram, Kara, and ArtStation. So just Bear Frymire everywhere. Like there's really not that many Bear Frymires out there. As far as I'm aware, there's just one. So just a quick Google, you'll find me.
I'll say, like, I don't know a lot of bears, only like Bear Grylls, and then you. That's it. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, on the topic of shirts, I'm gonna show off this shirt right here, guys. So
Oh
this
no.
is our brush point shirt. So look
Oh
out for that
nice.
in the website. So yeah, that's about it. Check out our website once again at brushpoint.io for monthly community challenges and weekly illustration processes. And for other questions such as the one asked by our subscriber Uday, you can ask those in the server as well, and I, along with the community, will be happy to help you out on your artist journey. So yeah, thanks guys, and we're gonna close the show in three, two, one, cut. All right, thank you guys.
Thanks everybody.
All right, JS or DJ Lumpia will pop out in a few seconds with a little summoning jutsu